What's poppin', beautiful people up in YouTube land? I put the 3G value, feel me? And this vid right here is the third video of Trap Lord's King Von series. This one is called King Von's Past is Catching Up with Him, and parentheses Durk. So let's check this out, because I mean the last one he said he moved to Atlanta and he was still getting in trouble, so check it out.
They say around 5 in the morning on February 5th, Lil Durk, whose real name is Durk Derek Banks, and his co-defendant Devontae Bennett.
Wait, his real name is Durk? Durk Derek Banks
were seen on camera involved in shooting Alexander Witherspoon, a person police say they knew.
King Von is the Chirac assassin. He beats cases like I beat my meat in quarantine. And after dodging a murder charge and 2 attempted murders in 2017, Von decided to try and find a way out of the streets and into the music industry. And what is more destined for success than a rapper with a backstory straight out of a Making a Murderer series? When YNW Melly got picked up for allegedly smoking his best buddies, his streaming numbers went through the roof. And who could forget when DaBaby put a man on ice in the frozen aisle of Walmart, a self-defense killing that fascinated rap fans so much that it propelled him to the very top of the hip-hop scene. With DaBaby even breaking Billboard records in 2020, with his track Rockstar dominating the charts ever since it dropped. The number one song which itself includes lines referencing his 2-year-old daughter witnessing that killing. So it's no surprise then, after beating a spectacular murder case, that King Von put that experience on wax and released the song Beat That Body, capitalizing on all of the lore that surrounded him in a big way. The track itself features that song in the background? It after beating that first body, he's about to catch another, as well as copping to having 3 dope phones and taking G's from his hood on hits. King Von's lawyer is somewhere punching the air right now, and his lyrics were only the half of it. The music video featured slick archive footage from the Cook County Jail, opening with a scene that depicts Von and THF Zoo leaving the Cook County Jail. To be fair, it'd probably take me 3.5 years to learn that handshake. Now, Beat That Body wasn't King Von's first attempt at rapping. In August, he had released the song Problems, and seeing the early potential in his music, Von continued to push forward and make more songs.
Yo, you know how like niggas don't like DJ Academics because he be doing using satire and shit, and his come up. I know a lot of niggas do not like Trap Lord, bro. This nigga the feds, boy. He gonna fuck around, open up a case on one of these rappers, bro.
Following up Beat That Body with the hard-hitting track War With Us, once again featuring brazen lyrics referencing real street shit. For example, classic references to Smoking on Tuka, a reference to the 15-year-old O-Block op, that since being taken out has been referenced in numerous drill songs, as well as a lyric that many perceived as a reference to the murder of 17-year-old Shakira Key Barnes, the teenage female assassin that many on the internet have speculated Von might have had something to do with bumping off. Combine this with more lyrics where King Von references himself as a hitman, and well, all of this grease that he was talking on these songs eventually led to the people around Von taking him seriously as a music industry prospect. And support quickly came in the form of Lil Durk, Chicago drill music legend and childhood friend of King Von's, having known each other for years after growing up in the same hood. With Durk even giving Von moral support whilst he was sat in jail awaiting trial on those murder charges, before Von had ever even rapped a single bar.
I've been with him his whole journey in jail. And I ain't gonna lie, like he ain't never say nothing about rapping. How's that meet? That'd be good, guy.
In fact, it was after beating that
I remember that interview
when
too.
Von was lying low in Atlanta at Lil Durk's crib that he started experimenting with rapping, recording in Durk's home studio. And so Durk was so impressed by Von's first recorded tracks being complete fire. Combine that with Von's Netflix-grade true crime backstory, Durk immediately saw the potential and snapped Von up for his OTF, Only the Family record label and collective.
What made you want to sign King Von?
Cause he got a whole story behind him.
So with the support of Lil Durk and the OTF movement behind him, King Von truly had a tried and tested blueprint of how to turn his dark experience in the Chicago streets into catchy street hits that would earn Von a legal income and get him out of those streets for good. Meanwhile, Durk is doing his very best to put his day one bro on and give him the opportunities that he needed to execute his blueprint for winning in the rap game. In fact, Durk had already helped Von by releasing his first song Problems, on his own YouTube channel, giving Von a huge introduction to an already receptive Chirac audience. And by November, Durk is giving Von one of the biggest opportunities the rap game has to offer, taking King Von onto the Breakfast Club as a guest on his own interview, giving fans a rare first glimpse at this fascinating character and future star fresh out the streets before he's had a chance to be polished up for
nigga is one scary individual.
In fact, the way that Von tries to talk about his murder case without incriminating himself is nothing short of spectacular.
What's your story?
My story, shit, I just got out of jail for just beat a body into attempts. Like,
how you beat that?
Bruh, I know DJ Envy and Angela, you probably look at that nigga like, look at Charlamagne, boy.
yeah,
I mean, you didn't do it. Oh, you took it to trial?
You gonna beat it. You gonna beat it if you didn't do it. That's all.
But it was a song
Is
that
he
Von
a
only
trial?
mentioned as a passing comment in this interview that would soon become his breakout hit.
got the crazy story from the drop.
In December 2018, Von drops his song Crazy Story, a very rare piece of lyrical storytelling coming out of the Chicago drill scene, a stark contrast to the
Snitching on
chanty
himself.
hood anthems like I Don't Like or 300 that we'd seen Chief Keef blow up with from Chicago in the past. Crazy Story was a narrative concept track that many have compared to Meek Mill's Tony Story. Hell, what happened to that Meek? He needs to man up
Tony
and drop
Story.
Takeshi Story
Son, Tony's story was OD, bro. That series was fire.
ASAP and make that comeback. I believe in you,
The
Meek.
Tekashi story.
Anyway, Crazy Story immediately put Von on the map, and from there he blew up quicker than a silo full of ammonium nitrate in a Beirut harbour. Sorry, too soon. With Crazy Story going gold, today sitting at 7 million views on YouTube, quickly followed up by the Crazy Story 2.0 remix that featured Lil Durk. That dropped in May 2019 and became Von's biggest song, today sitting over 31 million views on YouTube.
Sheesh.
And not to mention part 3 of Crazy Story dropped at the start of 2020, racking up an incredible 16 million views in 6 months. No one had done storytelling raps from the streets of Chicago like this before. And following the huge hype around Crazy Story, all eyes were on King Von and his next moves. And so he didn't disappoint the fans, continuing to drop hot joints like Bodies. Following up Crazy Stories with the track Cousins on March 2019, a hard-hitting track about hating your ops so goddamn much that you want to cut down their whole family tree. And that song came out with a music video that featured more hot sticks than an incense store, and some pretty awful acting. But when the Oscars introduced the most incriminating category, I know King Von's going to be a shoo-in. In June, Von was on the track OK 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 with Booker 600 and Lil Durk, coming with yet another music video that looks like it was filmed in the back room of a Chicago ammunition. Then on July 2019, Durk and Von dropped their collab Like That, and in September 2019, Von dropped his next single What It's Like, featuring an emotional but high energy beat, layered with rich chords which touches my soul in a deep way that makes me feel like I was right next to Von catching those bodies too. Combine this beat with Von's introspective but energetic bars about all of the hardship he's been through. The song comes across as a truly unique piece of artistic introspection from a man that's been through some of the most challenging circumstances life can possibly throw your way. And much like his earlier video for Beat That Body, What It's Like featured plenty of courtroom and prison footage, amazing montages of countless mugshots that Von and his crew have had taken over the years.
It's crazy because the mugshot showed like his dread journey. His journey's just killing niggas. Yo, that's crazy, bro. You see the growth of his dreads. That's how many times this nigga been in jail, bro.
And footage which Von claims is real footage of him being brutalized and taken in by the police. The track itself also featured questionably savage lyrics. The reference having witnesses knocked off while Von in the video does a throat-slitting motion. And the song ends with him saying that when he was arrested in 2014, the arresting officers that took him in told him specifically that they were the ones responsible for putting big sentences on the homies that he had known growing up, listing their names and showing their mugshots in the video. Once again, just like Crazy Story had shown off Von's ability to be a narrative storyteller on the mic, What It's Like showed off his ability to be introspective and moving. And so off the back of that, Von's career hit crescendo point just a few weeks later. On September 19th, dropping his mixtape Grandson Volume 1, named after a long-running cap, where Von has suggested that he is the grandson of the founder of the Black Disciples gang in Chicago, David Barksdale, aka King David. Apparently this came about after so many people had told King Von when he was in jail that both his appearance and the way he carried himself reminded them of a young King David. But regardless of whether or not he really is the founder of the BD's grandson, the Grandson mixtape was a resounding success, hitting 75 on Billboard. Not bad for your first go. In fact, a very good showing for a rookie so fresh off of the streets of Chicago you can still smell the gunpowder on his hands. And so officially 1 for 1 on Billboard, Von was finally able to legitimately claim that he had gotten out of the streets business and into the industry. And so in the months that followed, Von would push his career into the next gear, beginning to flood the market with music and eventually attempting to tidy up his image. Hot off the back of his Breakfast Club appearance, Von dropped 2 new tracks which were destined for his next mixtape, the follow-up to Grandson. One was called 2 AM, which I can only assume is both the time that Von stays up until and the charges that he caught in addition to the murder. Think about it. That track featured yet more ominous references to charges not sticking because witnesses have gone missing, and the fire lyric, "Can't put no..."
Bruh, he gotta chill out, bruh. Telling you, man, they got that luxury in Chicago, bro. Talking about niggas going missing, bro. He got Angel on his back, on his shoulder right now, bro.
The ATF and DEA know they ain't props.
That's crazy.
We didn't think they were props for a minute. And he dropped another song called Rollin', featuring fellow controversial hood rapper and the one person I would never ride shotgun in front of, Y&W Melly.
Yeah,
and the music video
too
featured
scary
this moment,
ass
which is possibly the
niggas.
most arranged I've ever seen Y&W Melly look. I mean, how creepy is
Young
that? You
niggas
can
ain't
literally
little,
see
but-
the demons in his eyes. And the video also had some sneaky B-roll of when they were hanging out with Kanye West. I mean, just imagine being in a room with Y&W Melly, King Von, and Kanye West. That's like 29 personalities right there. But anyway, as we roll into 2020,
that's a
Von
weird
continues
ass
to bless
mix.
his audience with bangers, including the fan favorite track "Went Silly," where Von says that he will catch a body before he catches a cold. Hell, Von has spoken about catching bodies on tracks so many times he might as well call himself the Chirac coronavirus. Anyway, he kept coming with heat, dropping the song "Pressin' with Sada Baby a week later, and then on February 21st, 2020, he drops the track "Took Her to the O," which goes crazy. With its booming trap beat, catchy hook, and storytelling verses that keep the listeners hanging on his every word, "Took Her to the O" was destined to be a certified hit, and the numbers did not lie. Because today, "Took Her to the O" is sitting at over 20 million views only 6 months on from its release day, possibly helped by the ridiculous looking white lady throwing up gang signs in the thumbnail, which is almost too hilarious not to click. And the video itself starts out with a pretty fun narrative where Von is sitting around in his therapist's office, as if it's the opening scene of some kind of Chirac Sopranos. And so after this huge drop, Von's star continues to rise as he gears up to capitalize off the back of this hot streak, all leading up to the release of his next mixtape, LeVon James, a tribute to basketball player LeBron James. And to push this new project, Von eventually begins to do more and more media appearances, beginning to paint himself more as the babyface thug than Agent 47. For example, this March 2020 Billboard profile, also coinciding with the release of LeVon James, mainly focuses on Von's storytelling skills, delving into his past in a much more favourable light, discussing how his time in prison made him a better man, along with an interview where he talks about never actually rapping about crimes that he really did, a denial that is so enthusiastic it is somehow even more incriminating. And so, as Von's star continued to rise, he kept on associating with hip-hop royalty, being pictured with everybody's favourite Sassy Savage, Lil Uzi Vert, dropping the track "On Yo Ass," with G Herbo fresh off accompanying him on the PTSD tour. And so, with all of this buzz, it is no surprise that his LeVon James mixtape performed so well. Hell, even LeBron James's actual son, Bronny, ended up a Von fan after this project. And clearly the fans and the streets were too, with his LeVon James mixtape peaking on the Billboard charts at 63rd. Ha! It went 63rd! I bet he wasn't happy about that. No, but really though, going 63rd on the Billboard charts is a great result, and at this point King Von had really proven he could do the impossible, going 2 for 2 on the Billboard chart, with the biggest names in the rap game bumping his music, and a day one mentor guiding him through the murky waters of an industry he's only just getting his head around. However, unfortunately, getting this far would not stop his past from catching up with him, and sadly Von and his mentor would end up getting in hot water together, facing fresh charges that would threaten both of their careers and even prevent them from communicating with each other.
I'm gonna haunt you. So that was not happening.
Let's jump back a year. It's February 2019, only a couple of months after Crazy Story is released, when suddenly Durk and Von would end up being part of a story that would be almost too crazy to believe.
Look at this. Police say a man was shot outside the Varsity, shutting down a busy street for hours. You can see the evidence markers outside the Midtown Atlanta restaurant. Now police are poring over video to find this shooter.
When the shooting ended, people found a wounded
How y'all bringing
man
this
in
to
the middle
Atlanta,
of
bro?
the
Atlanta's
street.
you're supposed to be making some money, bro. You ain't supposed to be worried about shooting
Got
niggas.
into some sort of argument in the parking lot of the Varsity restaurant, and that's when someone else started shooting.
Yes, according to prosecutors, it was allegedly King Von and Lil Durk who were responsible for this gnarly crime scene in Atlanta. This was an incident where a man apparently named Alexander Weatherspoon, who the internet detectives over at Chiracology believe is a member of the Vice Lords gang from Chicago, was shot in the leg and robbed of $30,000 cash and his Jeep.
He said his chain was snatched off his neck, and he had 30,000.
Wait, was this the case that Durk had fought? I think it was.
I was stolen from him, and they stole the vehicle he was driving.
Investigators say at least 18 shots were fired, and apparently the victim was taken to Atlanta
definitely has to
Medical
be,
Center
duh.
in serious condition with a gunshot wound to the leg, but luckily he survived. And to make matters worse, prosecutors claim to have had numerous surveillance tapes that depicted Durk shooting out the window.
Police say Banks was seen on tape shooting a gun.
You see Mr. Banks' arm out the window firing several shots at the victim, towards the victim.
And get this, they also claim to have 2 witnesses. Listen, King Von is the last person I would want to see witness doing anything, because we all know what happens to his witnesses.
They
Hell, I
get
wouldn't be
calm,
surprised if when they
listen.
got to trial, the surveillance camera wipes its own memory because it's so scared of what Von's going to do to it. Now, despite this happening all the way back in February 2019, it wasn't until June that the judge ruled that this case could go forward, with both rappers being charged with attempted murder. In addition,
And they
4
robbed
other
the nigga,
counts,
bro.
including aggravated assault, participation in criminal street gang activity, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. However, their defense says that Witherspoon had a gun and Von and Durk were just defending themselves, saying that the supposed surveillance tape does not say who pulled the trigger, with Durk and Von being hauled into court, where their lawyer told the judge that this whole thing was just one big celebrity witch hunt.
Were it not for the celebrity status
Ew,
of these 2
sneeze like that.
individuals, then this would be an aggravated assault.
However, the prosecution weren't buying it, even going as far as to fly in an expert witness from the Chicago PD to testify that Von and Durk were indeed members of the Black Disciples gang.
The prosecutor charging this wasn't just a robbery and shooting, but gang activity. She put a Chicago detective on the stand to testify that Banks and Bennett are members of Chicago gangs.
Is it possible to continue your affiliation and even commit crimes when you move out of Chicago if you're in a different city or if a different area?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I've just got to point out that the OTF album cover is literally a police suspect chart. I mean, these guys are doing the cops' work for them. That's all I'll say. Anyway, Durk was granted $250,000
They be wanting to get
bond.
caught.
In addition, he can't be near weapons or have any contact with Von, immediately showing off his fresh new ankle monitor on IG Live after bailing out. And Von was eventually bailed too, spending a little bit of time on house arrest. And look, this thing is currently unresolved, so who knows how this case is going to go. Maybe Von and Durk have a good chance, as even the Atlanta cop that took the witnesses' statements reported that there was a struggle at the car and that Witherspoon may have shot at Durk first. So right now this case is unresolved. No one really knows why they did this. And you might think that maybe King Von is too much of a hardened Chirac villain.
I wouldn't think, especially at the success that they are, especially Durk, because when I first originally heard about this, I was like, what the fuck, bro? Like, you're Durk, bro. Like, why would you be doing this? I wouldn't think that they would be the ones to initiate the crime. I feel like Witherspoon, he saw the ops, nigga was like, what? Boom, nigga said, what? My God, pussy ass. Blah, 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 blah. Feel me? So I feel like that's how it went down, but I mean, who knows? Don't know. Yo no sé.
Stay out of trouble. Or maybe you believe that he has truly turned his life around, and this is just jealous haters from his past trying to hold him down and drag him back to the life that he left behind. Either way you look at it,
Yeah, I just think,
unfortunate
nigga,
truth
he
is
had so much
King
shit in the
Von's
past.
is
He's
still
just trying to
catching up with
comfort
him.
him.
But there's one thing we can be sure of: we're all going to be glued to the news, waiting to find out exactly what went down on that day. Maybe it was self-defense, maybe it was a gang retaliation, or hell, maybe, just maybe, that guy was from 63rd. But no matter how you look at it, there is definitely one thing that is true, and that is King Von's life sure is one crazy story. Peace.
It definitely is, bro. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm not that familiar with King Von. Heard a few of his shits, but like Durk, bro, like I think is the truth, bro. So if he go to jail, bro, a lot of fire music that's not gonna be released. So I hope that they don't get locked up, but if they do, I mean, I guess that's karma if you want to say. But yeah, hopefully they don't. I hope they get their act together, man. Like, come on, bro, y'all niggas is making bread, bro. Like, y'all should not, that pulling out a gun shouldn't be one thought in your head, bro. Like, that's why you got security guards and shit for now, bro. Like, but I don't know, man. You can't take the hood out of niggas, bro. It's your boy G, and I'm up out of there. Peace.